Yes, sir. Welcome to WMTv, your go-to channel for South African topical issues. I'm your host, Njabulo Khoza. I just want to give a shout out to the people who have been showing us love and subscribing and liking and commenting on the previous videos. If you haven't watched the two previous videos, please go back and watch them. I do have to say that I was very nervous and I was very anxious, but it's very authentic and it's very informative, and the people who were there did give an insightful view of the issues that we were discussing. But today, I have two brothers in studio. Please introduce yourself, guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Sechaba and Shaun, also known as Shaba.
Hi everyone, my name is Shaun Masilo. I'm also known as Shaun.
I'm known as Sage, Sage Matter. Alright, let's get into it. So the topic that we are discussing today, it's the road to unemployment for undergraduates. When you guys hear that, what do you think when you hear that? The road to unemployment for undergraduates in South Africa.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sage, for having us on the show, by the way. Personally speaking, when I hear those words, I personally think that the way in which our economy in South Africa is going actually makes fresh first-year graduates find it hard to find jobs, and that's obviously because a lot of red tape that actually young black graduates face, in which the economy is not built to support their dreams essentially, and a lot of graduates find it hard to crack in whatever market they see themselves in, and yeah, that's what I think when I hear those words, generally speaking.
Yeah?
I personally think it's scary, hey? Because I'm still a student and seeing these graduate like at the robots, like looking for jobs and have their CV, they have like billboards and what. So I find it really scary because soon I'll be graduating also.
Yeah, just to give a background of what I'm doing. I graduated twice, well, not officially the second time, but I'm on the way to doing that, and I'm pursuing a third degree, and I haven't had like a stable job in what I studied for. So it's also something that's affecting me personally, and I know a lot of people who are affected by it right now, and fortunately enough, like I have the opportunity to do other things besides what I studied for. So it just gives this view of life outside of school, you know. What are you guys doing right now that might relate to some of the people who are watching in their day-to-day life? I was doing science. I was doing something in science. I want to work in a lab. So that's kind of like something I can give regarding myself. What would you guys say about yourselves? What are your aspirations with what you've studied for? Or what you are studying right now since you're a student? It's a loaded question, but it's really...
What I can say is right now I'm a student at UJ. I'm studying education, doing my third year.
Yeah.
So next year I'll be like finishing off my degree. And for me, I think compared to other like courses, I'm studying education. So I think it's kind of better because when you graduate, it's not, I can't say it's easier to find a job, but I think it's much simpler compared to other degrees, like when you're doing law or when you're doing science. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. What do you think, Shaun?
Well, what I can say is that firstly, I did my BA Law and LLB degrees also at UJ, and I'm currently also pursuing my Masters. But then, to answer your question, Sage, what I can say is that every time a LLB graduate graduates, it's most likely that LLB graduate won't immediately make the transition to practice, but they'll have to first start in something else. And it also goes back to the point that there are a lot of LLB graduates graduating, but there aren't a lot of opportunities coming out at the same time or at the same pace. So at the same time, I don't want to say it's been hard, but then it's sort of been like a waiting game because opportunities are there, just that they're not open at the time you're ready to actually access those opportunities. But then it's all about building the things that surround, you could say, your ambition to get to where you want to be. Speaking personally, I want to be an admitted attorney, and to become that, I have to, you could say, sort of like work with what I have at this point, wherein like I can, as I said, do my masters, try and volunteer, apply for my vacation work, and do anything and everything in my power
just to build yourself up,
just to build myself up to be able to be ready also for those types of opportunities. And I believe that obviously, as Shaun rightfully said, courses obviously are not the same and industries are not the same. At the same time, you must understand that there are a lot of things, obviously, such things like the economy, race, and obviously a lot of other things that we might not
out of
have
our
the
control.
time exactly to actually discuss. But these are also the things that we must take into consideration also when thinking about how easy it is, especially for a black graduate to transition immediately from university to practice. So yeah, that's what I believe.
So there's one thing that I read online. We'll drop like some of the stats and the links in the video description. There's one thing that I read online from the government's communication, their website. They were saying that the reason why there is like a high unemployment rate for graduates is that there is more people ready to go into the workplace, and then there's less opportunities for them. So then you have like all these people who have studied, who are educated, and then you don't have the opportunities to use the expertise and what they have studied for. Is that something that needs to be, because like when I was in high school, they were like, oh, you're gonna be doing this, you can like be anything, and I was like, I was just in this mindset that like when I get to university, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna go into the workplace immediately. And then when I got to university, it was like a different ball game, and I was like, wow, actually now I have to wait until I get a job. I can't like get a job immediately. What's a way for us to inform the ones that are like students, the ones that are in high school? Shouldn't it be something that's made known? Like, shouldn't we know about this? Like going into it, knowing, making an informative decision about your life regarding an education side of it, because you can do other things to succeed in life, but like why don't we know about the flaws and this hidden things regarding education and the workplace and the transition between the two? I'm asking loaded questions and I'm going from here to here. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, Sage. Well, what I can say, and I'll speak for myself again, well, I come from a township school, and I'd like to say it's, you could say, a bit of ignorance, a bit of don't care mentality, I'd like to say, because as much as we know that obviously education is important, it's at the same time not something that's actively encouraged. I mean, it is encouraged obviously in school, but in some of the communities that a lot of black people come from, after matric is basically being educated. Basically, you passing matric.
It's huge.
Is you being educated. So no one really has also the knowledge to pass down to you also, to say, listen, this is what you must expect, or this is what might happen. So we all know that for a lot of black young people, going to university is obviously an opportunity, and not every young black person goes to opportunity, and not every white young person or colored or Indian or whatever race for that matter goes to university. But specifically speaking for black people, I'd like to say that it's a sad state that we are in, and that is caused by, as I said, ignorance and other things. But then, what I would then like to say in response to that is that it's every man for himself, and I'm sorry to say so.
Yeah.
It's every man for himself,
It's
and
difficult. Yeah.
it seems that, as Constantine said, knowledge is power. And as much as we don't have money, we also don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not as simple as that, but I believe it always goes back to that, that we are somehow deprived of knowledge, and we are always catching up, even when we, because I imagine for young black people going to universities is sort of like you breaking away from, you could say, a certain cycle of poverty or whatever struggles you're going through, but you getting these, you realizing these other struggles that are actually out there which aren't as properly defined in your own community. And with that being said, I believe it's that cycle, and we can try talk about it, but as long as our education system doesn't work for us and isn't worked by us, then we have a very serious problem, even from grassroots level. We don't want to blame anyone personally.
We don't want to do that.
We blame the government, we blame ourselves as everyone.
Also.
And
Yeah.
that's my take.
Hectic.
It's very.
As I was saying, like I think this started way back. Like even during apartheid times, black people were denied of education, and come 1993, 94, ANC took over power. Mandela was the president, and he promoted education. Like when he said like education is the key to success and all of that, black people responded by going to varsity. Now we're interested because there isn't that barrier anymore of apartheid and whatnot. So black people responded by going to varsities. After varsities, when black people graduated, there is no employment for us. Because even the people who control this economy, this SA economy, they make decisions for us. And in most cases, those people who take those decisions, they're not black people.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it's white people. They decide who gets employment, who doesn't. So I think every time like we reach the finish line, every time black people reach the finish line, it automatically gets extended. So yeah, that's what I get to say.
So how do you guys, how do you feel about the fact that the finish line is extended? And where's the finish line now? And how can we combat unemployment? You know, how can we combat the fact that the finish line is extended? Do we practice more to be more fit to reach that finish line? You know, I'm just using an analogy with like a finish line, meaning that we have to reach a certain point. We have to be fit enough to reach that point. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, Sage, my brother, what I can say is that the issue with unemployment runs deeper than we might think at the moment, and I'd like to believe that, as I said earlier on, that every man is for himself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound a negative, or I don't want to sound as if I am a pessimist. You know, obviously I
Sounds like you're gonna say something very bad or negative.
No, not
Very nice.
But then, honestly speaking, unemployment is a very, very huge problem that is going to grow than decrease the way things are going, because obviously with things like the fourth industrial revolution coming up very, very soon, which honestly speaking our people are not even aware of, you know, I mean, we can barely operate a phone. How are we going to be able to accommodate the fourth industrial revolution? Because jobs will be lost, and as much as jobs will be created by the fourth industrial revolution, it needs people who are going to be skilled to perform those functions or those
jobs.
Exactly. You know, so my best guess for me personally would be the fourth industrial revolution, because the way things are right now, I don't see the unemployment rate decreasing anytime soon.
I mean, for a fact, it's already at 35%.
Exactly.
And which is very high.
And I'm sure it's grown since 1994, and that also proves that somehow our system really is failing to really address the differences in which society has, because not everyone's going to go to university. You know, if we're really talking about people who go to university but don't get the job, then what about the people that don't go to university?
Yeah.
What are their careers?
We're just focusing on things that we deal with, like, personally, you know.
Exactly.
There's also like another aspect that we're not focusing on.
Because when you look at it, how many people did you leave? Like, Ekasi, when you come to varsity?
Too many.
Where are they now? When you
Too
go
many.
back, like, visit your family, and you look at those people, they're still in the same place they were, like, 5 years ago.
Also us, actually, we graduate only to go back to those same places.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Exactly.
It's a huge problem. There should be that, we need to, like, destroy the fact that now we are reliant on, someone to employ us. Like I said, the question that I was asking, how can we combat it? Like, how can we go against these forces? And maybe
it's the system. It's the system itself. From in high school, it doesn't teach you to be self-sufficient
from crash.
From crash.
Yeah.
It doesn't teach you that. Like, it teaches you have to finish school, go to varsity, and get employment. Of which it's what our mentality grows up
and
to.
it affects your mentality a lot. I mean, like, you finish and then you're thinking, oh, okay, here's the finish line. And like, where's the finish line?
Now I'm about to become successful because I have a degree.
There's no finish line, and like you're just wondering, like, what's going on. Like, mentally, it challenges you to a point where, like, depression comes into play, and we don't even utilize like services like that, to have people talk to us about the challenges and difficulties that you face when you don't find employment, or you find it difficult in varsity, the transition from high school to varsity, from varsity to the workplace. There's just so much that we need to be aware of, and there's so much that we need to discuss with the people around us for them to know, especially like the young ones. I'm more focused on the generation that's upcoming. They are, like, for instance, my niece has a phone, like a smartphone, in grade 8. She's been having it since like grade 5. I never had that, I've never, didn't have that privilege. But what I'm trying to say is that we need to encourage that more with the fourth industrial revolution that you were talking about. We need to encourage the young people to be more technologically aware of what's going on. So when the fourth industrial revolution actually, like, comes into play more than it is right now, they would be ready and aware. So to close it off and just to share something that you have been experiencing in your life that might be, for someone who'd be watching, someone who's doing law, someone who's doing education. I'll also give something regarding someone who's doing science. What advice would you give them? Yeah, I think a piece of advice, what would you give them?
Well,
what have you experienced that you can share with them?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say advice as much, because I mean, I'm also struggling as in the very same struggle, just unique, obviously, because all of our struggles are unique.
Yeah.
But then I'd like to say experiences maybe I'd like to share.
Mm-hmm.
The lessons I'd like to share is that we also have to be patient, We also have to apply ourselves in every opportunity we get. And overall, I would like to say it's the ambition in it that keeps you in it for the long run. Because like another thing, if you don't love what you do, it's definitely going to be an issue,
Yeah.
I don't want to say now that just because you could say I didn't find employment immediately, it's not possible. No, that's not what I'm saying. And definitely is possible, you know.
Yeah.
Someone mustn't watch this and think, I'm not going to do law because there are no jobs. There are definitely jobs, and
Yeah.
people are excelling. People are doing marvelous things, and I imagine that for every field in general, people always do what they set out to do. Just that the wide majority of that face the actual realities that go on. You know what I mean? It's the same as in university. Not everyone who does well and goes to university gets a bursary.
Yeah.
So with the same mind frame with regards to law as it is, just don't be too narrow-minded and try and cast your net as wide as possible. And yeah, it's doable, I believe. It's,
Yeah.
I think we should also go away from the stigma that going to varsity means you bound to become successful.
Okay.
Because in the hood where I come from, everyone wants to go to varsity. Everyone wants to go to varsity. Yeah, like I said, I think like we should go away with this mentality or the stigma that going to varsity you are bound to become successful. I think if Mandela was alive, you should edit that statement when he said education is the key to success.
And add something else.
And you should say education and
something else. Yeah,
is the
yeah,
key
yeah.
to success.
True,
Because
true.
education really it's not the only option we have.
We have Buzz in the studio. Buzz, do you have anything to say? I don't think he wants to say something.
Nah, nigga.
He's